Welcome to the Rivalry Rant podcast. It's the Kentucky Wildcats versus the Louisville Cardinals and everything else in the world of sports. And now, your hosts, Josh Conder and David Smith. Let's get it on.
Welcome everybody to episode number 5 of the Rivalry Rant podcast. Today is Monday, July the 3rd, and this is the Merica edition of the Rivalry Rant. My name once again, Josh Conder here, your host in the big chair, along with co-host David Smith. David, are you feeling patriotic today?
I'm always feeling patriotic, but especially today.
Really? We have big things going here. We are pretty happy to announce that we're averaging, over the course of the last 4 episodes, about 165 listens per episode through iTunes. iTunes has really helped us out a lot. What's your thoughts?
We're getting it done. I put a lot of time and effort into the equipment and getting it on iTunes and just getting this whole thing rolling, so I'm happy about it.
Who's put a lot of time in there?
Well, I might have been exaggerating a little bit.
Yeah. Now's the time for you to pat me on the back. I
do pat Josh on the back. He's done a lot of good stuff here, and we've had a couple friends too that's definitely contributed. So,
but by far, last week's I think is what might have catapulted us up there with the grocery store etiquette conversation. And last week's went live Tuesday morning. Mom calls me Tuesday night and admitted that she was a grape thief. And it was a sad day in the Conder household. I got to shame her for it a little bit because I was so against it. But her argument is that she doesn't like soggy grapes, so she eats one to make sure it's firm.
So she ate more than one then?
Well, I'm sure over the course of her years of grocery shopping, probably. I don't think she eats like a half the vine while she's grocery shopping, but she has one or two.
We got confirmation on the grocery topic debate, which was a hot debate. Chris Simpson, a friend of mine and a former professional secret shopper, his job is to catch people from shoplifting. He confirmed it for us via Twitter. He says, bags of cookies, chips, drinks, fine. You can eat them in the grocery while you're shopping as long as you pay for them at the end. Grapes, though, stealing. You buy by the pound, he confirmed it.
So, Nelson County Sheriff Department, you need to go to my mother's house and lock her up. Because I'm not having a thief as a mother.
That's brutal.
I was so anti it. I gotta shame her a little bit.
Well, there you go.
I love her to death, but
I know she listens every week, so she'll hear this.
She does. She's a guarantee. I'm not going to say anything to her, so I guarantee you she'll call me tomorrow night probably and let me have it over this. But for the Merica edition of the Rivalry Rant, we thought it only fit that we would bring in a history teacher to help us out today. So we would like to introduce Sean Smith, David's older brother, longtime Louisville fan, high school history teacher, as well as an assistant athletic director. So Sean's going to cover all the topics for us today pretty much because he has like 8 titles, as well as father. Both of you guys, babies in the same year. So, yep. I mean, if we had a hotline, Sean could do it all. I feel like we would be out of a job, but luckily, he's got the baby and he can't make it in here every week. So, Sean, glad to have you. What's up, man?
Thanks for having me on, guys. I really enjoyed the podcast and known you all for a great while. Just to clarify on some things, when you say she's trying to avoid that soggy grape, she's only eating then 1 grape per grape purchase then, right?
Well,
is that her claim?
I would guess that if she tries a soggy grape, she probably has another grape out of the next bag to see if it's firm.
Oh, multiple.
So if it's a soggy grape week, my mom could eat a whole bag. You're right about that.
Red and green grapes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now she's only green.
Only green.
I like the green too. Now, I think when you say Merica, I think it's more Merica.
Well, I'm trying.
M-U-R-I-C-A.
As this goes along, I might get a little more redneck with it.
Is there an I in there, or is it just Merica? Is there an I?
There's an I.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Just Merica.
Merica.
So, like I said, we thought it was only fitting that we bring Sean in because there's not much going on right now, guys. It's all about the summer's out. And if at least you want to talk about the UK players over in Egypt just hooping, I'm sure you two Louisville fans don't want to talk about that. Because you're going to have to get enough of it come December when we're about to kick your all's tails.
Not going to happen.
Oh, it's going to happen. Going to happen.
Well, we do play in Rupp and can't win in that place.
Oh, yeah. Excuses.
Corrupt arena.
But like I said, Sean, history teacher, and Sean is kind of my boss in some ways as the assistant athletic director at the high school where I coach at. And every year about this time, I'd say I'm not going to coach anymore, and Sean has to beg me to come back and tell me how good of a job I do. So now that you can put this out to the mass people of Kentucky, tell them about how good of a coach I am.
A couple of things for clarification. Number one, I wouldn't really consider myself your boss. I'm assistant athletic director
Chain of command, man.
At Thomas Nelson High School. Really, it's more like The Office with Dwight Schrute. I'm more like assistant to the athletic director instead of assistant athletic director. But in all seriousness, Josh does do a great job leading our generals and building the community over at Nelson County High School, too, with the wrestling programs. He coaches both programs. It's a large challenge. Very knowledgeable on wrestling. Obviously, he's accomplished going to state when he was in high school. And we're definitely glad to have him. At minimum, this is a reach out to say, Josh, you're not leaving. You got to stay. I think we get Bill Broadus in here to say half of what I said anyway.
Bill Broadus still AD?
Yes.
Get it, Bill.
Well, he's successful.
He's the man.
He's doing a good job.
He wants hard copies of everything. There's no digital files, but Mr. B's still the man.
Yeah, that's his only fault.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Mr. B gets together with some technology. I would die if he calls me tomorrow and be like, why are you talking about me? Why are we talking about me? But Sean, long time, like I said, obviously I met David in high school and fell right in there with you and your family when we became friends. And we went to numerous games together, had great times. I mean, you're a class act except that you like to smoke your meat with charcoal, which I'm highly offended by. And a while back, you put together a Snapchat story that I feel was directed towards me and bashing my love for electric smoking. And I would just like to give you the floor to clear that up.
I feel that charcoal smoking is really the only way to go. And there's a couple reasons for that. As someone who enjoys meat, some man meat, we can all agree, man meat takes the form of many meats, smoked pork, red meat. But regardless, I think that preparing and cooking food needs to take more effort than simply flipping a switch. With charcoal, it does take a lot more effort. You got to tend the coals. You got to monitor the temperature manually with the valves. Unlike the electric ones where you just type in the digital thermometer and let it go. Plus, with charcoal, it gives you an excuse to stand outside, watch your food cook, and drink beer at the same time. So it's always an excuse.
So it's all about the show for you.
I think the show is part of it. I think the work going into it makes it more gratifying when it's done. It tastes better almost, just from the work I put in. Where I know when it's electric, I can tell the difference between electric meat and charcoal smoked meat instantly, I think.
It's almost like an event. It's not just about the food. It's like the U of L tailgate.
No,
it's an event.
We'll get the U of L tailgates here in a minute.
It's a social event.
It is a social. Sometimes it's by myself, social event.
Social event.
I don't think that makes sense.
Hank Hill says he likes propane and propane accessories, right?
Yeah, that's
Wow.
I'm against Hank Hill. I'm with charcoal all the way. You're 2-1.
Hank Hill
But
said,
I'm a better cook than both of you all, so I feel like I'm right and y'all are wrong.
Your Boston butt was good.
Everything I've ever cooked's been good. Don't you just say my Boston butt's good.
You tend to burn burgers before.
I made the best ribs I've ever made.
The Rivalry Rant is
I've ever made this weekend.
The Rivalry Rant is now looking for a new co-host. Cooking a full meal for you Saturday, and you're really going to insult
It was good.
We had a good time, man. I enjoyed that.
It was a good time.
Down
That was Merica Day.
That was Merica Day. Yeah, I agree completely.
Pork, lake, beer.
Now, while we're on the topic of U of L tailgate, Sean, you and David both have went with your dad for numerous years down to the pizza box at Papa John's there. And for years I've bashed your guys' tailgating performance. Can you just verify that it is better when I went to the tailgate? Because I bring TV to the floor. Was I the best of the tailgaters there?
We have a buddy that goes with us, BJ Brown, and he competes with you. Now, I don't need all the ritz and glamour of the TV, but I'm more concerned with the food and drink. So they usually bring the food and drink there. We've had the Bloody Mary bar. We've had some stuff he's brought in, such as wings from restaurants that were good. But again, I think the creme de la is if we have time to prepare food with all these noon kicks, it's kind of tough to get going anything other than eggs and sausage and bacon.
Yeah,
now, Josh, when you came, you brought some good food, and I like the TV. I like the fancy stuff.
I like the noon. I have gotten to a point as a U of fan, I like the noon kickoffs. I'm a big fan of the breakfast bar atmosphere.
See, I feel the noon kickoff, that's just an excuse you have to leave bars down like at 7. For all the years of the miserable years I've been in Commonwealth, up until years late, the tailgate's the reason I went mainly. I mean, we would buy $5 upper deck tickets to go out and get a beer at halftime and get back in. Called them beer tickets. Greatest thing ever. So I feel the tailgate's the event. It is a social thing. I completely agree. But while we're on the means of talking about tailgates, we had to bring Sean in for this one because this is a story that I'm going to let you guys tell because it involves me mainly. And if I tell it, nobody's probably going to believe it. So about 5 years ago, we were down Labor Day. Was that a Sunday night? Yeah, Sunday night. UK U of L football game. And Sean, take it from there. Roll with it, you two.
Well, I remember all week we kept looking at the forecast. I think this was before they moved. It definitely was before they moved the game back. So it was the first week of the season? Yeah.
Labor Day week.
We kept looking at the forecast all week and trying to plan, and sure enough, 80% chance of rain, 70% chance of rain all week. How are we going to deal with this? So,
let me jump in here real quick, folks. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm going to jump in and clear up some things along the way because I can't give this led me a bad rep. That Friday night we had a fantasy draft. That Saturday night we had a buddy's bachelor party, and then Sunday was the game. So that was me and David at the bachelor party, and I said that I had the pop-up tent tarp, the pop-up tent. Well, I get to my house Sunday morning in a hurry to get down to David's house, and I realized that mice have chewed through the top of the tent. So I just grab a tarp and as many bungee cords as I can find. Now,
wasn't it for some reason a Miami Hurricanes tarp you had?
Dad got it on sale for like $62. It was a Miami Hurricanes pop-up tent. Had it
I don't know why I remember that.
Had it for years.
But to piggyback on that too, was it a noon kickoff or 3:30? Because I remember we left early.
I think it was 3:30.
Okay. Because fantasy night, bachelor party, we weren't 100%.
No.
At the time, we were like 21 as well. So
we were in our prime,
if you call it that.
But go ahead, keep rolling with it.
But I do remember that day. It was a really fun day. I think that was either the Sugar Bowl year or the year after that. I don't remember which one, but I just remember getting there, and it was a monsoon. I mean, rain was coming in sideways. We were trying to put this tarp on with bungee cords.
Your dad's face with it. But you guys had the old van that had the pop-up on the back of it that saved us. But your dad's face when I pulled out that tarp was just priceless.
When you pulled it out of the 98 Nissan Quest.
Yeah, the 98 Quest. Classic ride. But we sat there and we tailgated, and you guys remember enough of this to tell it.
And it wasn't just like rain. It was like wind and rain. So the tarp really didn't have much of a purpose.
No.
Because it's kind of like Forrest Gump. The rain was coming in sideways. It was big fat rain. It was coming up from underneath almost, it felt like. And it was just one of the most extreme conditions I've ever been hard-nosed tailgater in. I think 90% of the time, if we didn't have this planned out, if it wasn't the UK game, we might just win the stadium early and seek shelter. But we stood out there in the rain, and we had a good time. I can't remember what we ate. Did you bring food, Josh?
I think we had wings.
I don't know. I just remember I had a big ball of Maker's Mark that somehow disappeared that day.
Here's what I do remember. I do remember two girls coming over.
This is what makes the story. Nobody would just care about the rain after this.
All three guys here, we're good guys. We're not exactly Calvin Klein models by any means, especially me and Condor.
You haven't seen my work?
It's like Kramer when he became a Calvin Klein model in Seinfeld. No, that was Ralph Lauren. But anyway, two girls. They weren't ugly. I'm not going to lie. They were pretty girls, and they came over, and one of them was just really into Condor. I mean, wanting to know where Condor sat and was texting them as we walked into the game.
Yeah, let me tell the story with the texting. So we sit there, and I talked to this girl and I'm like, yeah, very cute girl. Sit there, and they just walked up out of nowhere. They were like, we don't know where our friends are. Can we tailgate with you all? And that kind of blew us out of the water. And so we talked about Keeneland or something, and she was talking about how she was going to have a birthday tailgate at the Commonwealth, and I had season tickets at the time. I was like, well, sure, yeah, we can get together or whatever. And as we're walking in the game, she was texting me or whatever, and Sean was like, man, you're in, big time in. And I looked at my phone, and it said, hey, this is so-and-so 30th birthday party in Lexington that week of the Georgia game or whatever. I was only 21 at the time, completely.
I didn't know they were that old.
Yeah, I didn't either. Yeah, completely blown away. After the game, they tried to get us to go to captain's quarters. And some reason you wanted to go, David, and we had no ride back to Bardstown.
We would have found a ride.
Yeah, Sunday night.
We were 21 at the time. I was flying high from a Louisville beatdown. I'll tell you, there was about 303 touchdowns. Yeah, I was ready to go.
Yeah.
We were off that next Monday.
There was no Uber then, I don't believe.
No
taxi
Uber.
would have cost you an arm and a leg, but I think we all would have probably went. I was pretty tied down already, so I don't know. I probably wouldn't have went.
I would not have went now. Now after that game, I'd be like, you literally couldn't pay me $1,000 to go.
I've updated you all on that story, haven't I?
You updated me on it.
Yeah. Sean, I don't know if you know this now. That girl, we became Facebook friends, and somehow, like 2 years ago, she popped back up on my newsfeed. She's a professional bodybuilder now. Like, does competitions and stuff.
You messed up, Connor.
I don't know about that. Don't know about that.
Interesting.
Yeah. So.
Fun game.
Yeah, it's a good day. So that's our tailgate story there. And then we're also, while we got Sean here, we're going to do the Indianapolis 2014 story.
Ugh.
As you can look behind and marvel at the newspapers if you need to read about it again. And I'll tell this one, because it's my thank you to Sean for not getting me lost in downtown Indianapolis. Kentucky upsets Louisville. Get back to the car. David, his dad, and his mom and Sean are in the other car. And David's dad has our hotel room booked at the time. David's dad won't speak to me, though, to give me the address to the hotel. He just gets in the car, slams the door, and takes off out of the middle of this parking garage, going like 60 miles an hour in downtown Indy. Sean, I'm like fast and furious behind him. Sean ends up calling me and saying, Connor, you need to add directions? I'm like, Sean, I'm right behind you, man. He's like, wow, sir, that is impressive. And then we get to White Castle. Dave, throwing the White Castle fire.
For some reason, I remember Sean was in not that bad a mood. I was in a point of devastation. Actually, I think what it was, he was in such a devastated mood, he was trying to tell himself it wasn't a big deal, it's just a game. But I think deep down he was miserable.
My biggest problem with that was I couldn't count how many Louisville basketball games. That was my first Louisville NCAA tournament postseason game I'd ever been to. And of course, the year before we went on that magical 2013, as of right now, championship. So I missed all that. I didn't go. I was saving up money to go saving up money for a wedding. So I didn't go to any of that. This next year, we were primed to repeat. So we got this epic matchup with Kentucky. I'm looking at the spread all week. We're 5-point favorites, 6-point favorites. We're leading the whole game. We have our best player, one of the best players in Louisville history up there, numerous times opportunities kind of put away with Russ Smith. He just kept clanging free throws. And I had this bad feeling in my pit of my stomach that we were going to lose that game, even though we led, 38 minutes? 37 minutes?
That was also the games that the refs cheated.
Of course.
They always. For those listening, Sean said that they always cheat.
But then we lose the game, and you're in the middle of Indianapolis with probably 30,000 UK fans, probably
I think-
25,000 UVL fans.
I remember it being pretty close.
I'd say it's pretty.
Y'all had a good crowd there for that.
Of course, because we thought we were going. And then we lose. And just the obnoxious, ridiculous behavior from UK fans as we were leaving. That was devastating.
I guess it did make it worse because the year prior, me and Dad had went to the Elite Eight Duke game, and then we went to the National Championship game. And the next year, Sean's like, I'm not missing out on this. I'm going to that UK game. And we were supposed to win the whole game. Leading the whole game. We blew it. Refs cheated.
We would have won the title.
Waiting for a Condor comeback here. And he's not taking the bait.
Somehow, Kentucky didn't win the championship that year. I'll never know.
I don't know with all the magical shots they made.
They probably had 6 NBA players on the roster and still didn't win somehow.
Well, I think that's a yearly thing. That's not just.
Would they lose to UConn or something
Yeah.
that year? Who'd they have?
Well,
Connor, thoughts?
if you all would have made it to the Final Four, it would have been vacated. So it's a good thing you probably lost that game.
You have to be seen. Appeal process is in process.
Fake news.
process.
Fake news.
America, fake news.
Something that I always remember is when we did get to the hotel and your guy's dad checking in.
Oh, that was epic. First of all, Sean ate a cheese stick off a White Castle floor in Indianapolis. That was funny. But then we got back to the hotel in depression. Then we got back to the hotel and the hotel host was real happy. Like, how'd y'all have a good time tonight? Dad looked at him and said, "Is that a serious question? Did you just ask me that? Are you serious?"
And to be fair, the little dude that was working the front desk has never watched sports in his life. So he's just looking at Dennis like, what's this crazy man talking about? I'm just trying to be a nice front desk guy. I still like watching, and because I couldn't laugh because your dad was in such a bad mood, I didn't want to take him off anymore.
Dad's the most vindictive UL fan there is. I would say that Daniel Rogers, who you all had on last week, is a close second as far as UK fandom goes. He kept it in check last week for you all. I know he did. But
So now we're going to have a little
Took everything he had.
A little guest host rivalry going here. We bring
guest host rivalry rant.
Yeah, a little pay-per-view event maybe.
You might have to have Daniel and Dad share a microphone.
Dano
on the podcast.
Dano and Seabass going head to head, throwing some shame there. But while we're, just keep slamming that beer. While, like I said, this is the Merica edition of the Rivalry Rant, and this afternoon while I was at work, I was trying to come up with some, because there's literally nothing going on right now in the world of sports with Kentucky, and there's not much going on in the sports world unless you're crazy about NBA salary caps and
Free agency
and how Steph Curry's going to make $76 a minute while he's on the court. And so I was trying to think of some way we can tie this into the 4th of July. And Sean being the history teacher, I thought it was a perfect time for this to link up. So my question, guys, is I want to go through Petrino, Stoops, and Cal, and just have a little open discussion about who we think they relate most to in the history of the United States of America.
So we're only U.S. history here, not world.
That's okay. It's America.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Britain
Britain was involved with that though.
Well, we can go Britain.
So was France.
That's fine. We'll go around.
I'm not. I don't want any Frenchmen.
I mean, it's not your show, but you can call the shots.
You never hear Frenchmen getting bashed.
Well, Napoleon was French, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He feels like he gets bashed all the time.
You know, I heard that him being short was a myth.
Yeah, he says he was of average height.
Yeah.
Heard he had little feet.
I don't know about that.
Somebody said they had a boot in his little foot. I don't know. That's completely just made up off my head. But so as a Kentucky fan, I think the obvious here for Rick Pitino would have to be Benedict Arnold. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Traitor. Did the country of the Big BN wrong when he ended up at Louisville. Thoughts about that one, guys?
I guess from your standpoint, that would make sense, especially since he would then be supporting the British, right?
Yeah, you are kind of like the British.
Yeah, I think the example would be better played though, because now, well, from your standpoint, I guess Benedict Arnold would work for you. I don't agree with that. He found a better opportunity at Louisville and he took it.
Right.
I mean,
excuse me. Better opportunity at Louisville.
At the time, he could do whatever he wanted. He got whatever he wanted. He still does.
And it shows.
Does it? That he can do whatever he wants and get away with it?
Semi. It's like
this is ridiculous,
like
guys. You all can shame him just a little bit.
the Dapper Don.
Yeah.
He's
I
untouchable.
kind of thought he might have been like a JFK too, a little bit. Like JFK.
He was a great president.
Patino's a great coach. He's a great X's and O's coach, but he also has had a little thing with his behind his wife's back, and that was rumored that JFK had done that for years. That's the only similarity between the two. Unless Patino gets shot sometime down the road, then I'm going heavy on that one.
I was just looking at being a great leader, great president, American hero type stuff.
Well, who's yours, David?
With
For
JFK.
Patino.
I threw
I
this
don't
on
know.
you guys last minute.
I guess
so
I'll go JFK too.
You're going to be boring.
I'm going with Dwight Eisenhower. The reason I'm going with Dwight Eisenhower, it's not really for his presidency, it's more for him being the Supreme Allied Commander of forces in the Atlantic Theater in World War II. He's a meticulous person that prepares, and that's the same with Eisenhower. He prepared for every scenario. He made the D-Day invasion, where we successfully landed and had a foothold in Europe to defeat the Nazis.
Okay,
That's
that's
kinda
good.
That's
good.
what Patino's doing with Louisville. He's kind of resurrected the program by preparing. He doesn't get all these recruits.
So the NCAA's the Nazis?
I don't know if I'm not doing
the
it.
NCAA is the
It's
Nazis.
not completely metaphorical here. It just
He also resurrected UK's program.
oh yeah, from that shame that they had there. When they
So
got
I didn't know anything about Dwight Eisenhower, but now I agree with you. He resurrected both programs.
All right.
And in the end, he's victorious. So that has to be the perfect Patino comparison.
I thought you might go FDR, where he had like the new plan for Louisville, where he kind of brought him out of Denny's old way.
FDR's too socialist for Patino for me.
Okay, we're not diving into this hardcore.
History buff on the set.
Yeah.
I'm a Biff.
This might have been a mistake bringing the history teacher. Well, at least we're going to educate people, I guess, because I know more about Dwight D. Eisenhower than I
Y'all
ever
knew he made the D-Day invasion. Y'all knew
No,
that.
I didn't know any of that.
I knew that. You hated history in high school.
Who'd you have?
No, we better not
Peterson?
say.
High school? Oh, Miss Peterson. Let's not
Sean's
get into that.
co-worker. Sean's co-worker.
Yeah, she's in my department.
She taught World Civ in Nelson County, right?
Yeah.
She was not a big fan of David Smith, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. When you're
I
lazy,
had
you're
her-
not big
I did
on it.
destroy her textbook, and then I didn't listen. I did a screeching noise in her class. That's probably why she didn't like me. I wasn't a model student. Sean, on the other hand, model student, model teacher. I'm out on all accounts on those.
If anybody at the Board of Education is listening, this is a advertisement for Sean Smith to get a raise, something along with it,
Yeah.
about his brother. I love history, but I can't remember very much of it. So let's go. What about? But I love it, man. Let's go to Petrino. This was one I don't have anything for, really. This one's a tough one. I mean, you go. I really don't even know.
I look at Petrino as more of a dictator type, so it's hard to tell. He's very strict. He wants to be the one leading. He doesn't delegate much at
Well,
all.
what about Clinton? Because he claimed he was on a motorcycle accident, and Clinton did not have sexual relations with that woman.
I think that's weak. I'm still going with whoever was the president
like
that had the
Clinton's-
most strict policies. It was more of a dictator. Sean, who would that be?
The most dictator of all presidents?
Well, I know it's not a dictator, but the most.
I would say if we follow the line of dictatorship, you go with Andrew Jackson. So for Andrew Jackson, for example,
Here we go.
This is good. I'm learning a lot tonight.
so if you want to compare Petrino and Andrew Jackson as their commonalities that they're dictators, Andrew Jackson, he came up with this idea of the Indian Removal Act. So you want to pass this into law, all right? Congress said, listen, we are not moving hundreds of thousands of Native Americans from the southeastern United States under reservations, under force of
That's
law.
wrong, I feel like.
So Congress said, no, we're not making that bill a law. But once Congress disapproved of that, Andrew Jackson just said, well, I'm doing it anyway. So he completely threw out basically our constitutions, our constitution, our branches of government, checks and balances. He said, well, I control the army and we're forcing them out. And he moved all those Native Americans mainly from Georgia, and moved them out west at the point of a gun from our national or our army at the time, and put them on reservations. So if anyone's a dictator, it'd probably be Andrew Jackson.
I'm going with Andrew Jackson.
I'm digging this conversation right now,
good.
because we are educating people that listen to this. I mean,
we're going to have history people listen to the Rivalry Rant.
I feel this could make it into Sean's classroom at some point.
Archives,
It's educational. Yeah.
Rivalry Rant archives.
Take a
history
clip.
books.
Board of Education will sell you this episode for $19.95. Pretty cheap. Better get it while you can. All right, let's jump to the good side here, the Big Blue Nation. And Sean, you said this one earlier. Mark Stoops. Go ahead and let the people have it, because it's by far the most perfect thing anybody can say.
I think for Mark Stoops, you got to go with Robert Kennedy, John F. Kennedy's brother, who was always in the shadow of JFK. Although he did get notoriety, like Bob Stoops is getting, maybe with these recruiting classes that I hear so much about, but I've yet to see much of that come to fruition. But anyway, he's getting some pub, kind of like Robert did. Robert was, running for president as well, and didn't make it there because he also was killed, like his brother JFK. maybe it's going to be like Stoops retires or is forced out. Maybe just like his brother up there in Oklahoma. Maybe that's foreshadowing.
But would Robert Kennedy have won the presidency, do you think? What's the numbers behind that?
It was very early in the running. I think it was about a year before, so they hadn't even gone through the primaries. I think he was definitely favored on the Democratic ticket to win the Democratic nomination.
I feel like he's an up-and-comer. People see he's doing good things at UK. I hope nobody steals him from us, but then you might have a big program like Florida State, a.k.a. the Democratic Party, come in there and grab him up. And
you better win a lot more games before Florida State.
Before Jimmo Fisher is getting run out for Stoops.
I'm talking 10 years down the road here, hopefully.
What's yours,
All right.
David, for Stoops?
He's just going to agree with that.
Well, as you all know, I know nothing about history, and so far I've agreed on all of your alls. I don't know how you could have another answer other than Robert Kennedy. How can you even have
It's
another?
by far the most perfect thing that I could have. When you said it earlier, I just died laughing because it is perfect, with it being in his brother's shadow. Now, for Calipari, I would like to think of Cal as kind of the Abraham Lincoln of the NCAA. Cal comes in, has this one-and-done system. Lincoln was pushing to abolish slavery. Bad system, slavery. People looked down, but people were still behind slavery at the time. The one-and-done was kind of looked at in a negative light, but Cal was behind the one-and-done. And if Cal could have gave a Gettysburg Address, I feel like he's saying that we need to let these one-and-done players play. So that's what I want to hear Sean's thoughts on this. Calipari, Abraham Lincoln.
I will be damned if you're going to compare Calipari to the Republican president, Abraham Lincoln. Maybe I would say the best president of all time. If I had to choose a comparison for Calipari, I think I'd go with Richard Nixon.
Oh my God!
And here's why. Really, when Nixon was office, he was an accomplished president. He soothed tensions between the United States and the Soviet Union during the height of the Cold War. He got the United States out of the Vietnam War, the Vietnamization, that process. But ultimately, his career ended in scandal. Ultimately, Richard Nixon was forced out of office because, just like Cal's left his other schools, Memphis and UMass, right before the scandal hit, for covering up basically fraud there in the election. So I think that's how it's going to end for Calipari. He's going to have to leave because it's going to come crashing down.
So is Patino Trump with all this talk about Russia, and he's just going to stick it out?
And to be victorious in the end. He will make Louisville great again, kind of like how Trump's making America great again.
Not only does he have to stick it out, he has full support of U of L and Tom Jurich, which he should.
And he already said he's going to win a couple more championships
All right.
before he retires.
I'm going to take this a step further because I really like this topic.
Can I say mine real quick?
Go ahead.
Oh, you got one.
You got one this
I
time?
got one. And it's really logical. It's well thought out.
No, it's not.
Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
Because she's a liberal and I don't like her.
That's the only reason.
That's it.
Okay. What about
Condor
What about?
advice?
Cal is a big Democrat. Like, I think that one day
That's not a shocker.
you'll see him do something along the lines of government at some point, I think. Because he is kind of like big into that.
Him and Jones can run together.
Yeah, he can run Jones.
Have a reality
Guys, we
show.
can't bring up those people because then it's slander if they don't like it. So let's not bring him up.
Oh, well.
Sean should have known that as a teacher.
Slander, like you're going to get sued?
Yeah, maybe if he didn't want to be put in the same context as Calipari, they could sue
What
us.
if Patino didn't want to be, who'd you say?
Patino's a public figure.
Oh.
He's paid by the
I think
state.
Matt Jones is a public figure.
Matt Jones not paid by the state.
Oh, so he's not allowed. So Patino can't.
I don't know.
sue
Hell,
for
Patino could sue us too if he did.
I don't know if a lot
What
of
are they
people
going to take
listening
my house?
I think it's already worse.
They take everything in my office. Patino wants all my UK collectibles. That's all he takes. But what about Cragthorpe? And then I'll bring up Gillespie. Let's talk some
Cragthorpe.
shame.
Oh
there.
my gosh. Sean, you go. I have to think about this one.
I think for Cragthorpe, you'd have to think of just a huge failure all around. So if you want to think huge failure in U.S. history.
I think you would first have to talk about a great president followed by a terrible president that ruined everything from before.
Why would you have to do that?
Because you had Bobby Petrino, who had U of L at the height of its program, and then you had Cragthorpe come in and ruin everything he did.
That
Which
is
might be
tough.
hard to do. I'm putting you on the spot.
It doesn't have to be a president. We can just throw out anybody. Like I said, anybody in the history.
Craggy's a tough one. I remember for Cragthorpe, it was the very first season, and we have season tickets, of course, have for about a decade now. We come out of the stadium and wave threes there, and they put a microphone in my face, and we had just got beat, I think, in the conference opener by Syracuse, and we were favored by, I think, 30 plus points.
Yeah.
And the interviewer, I think it was only his third game. The interviewer put the microphone in my face and said, "What do you think about Cragthorpe?" I said, "Fire him now. He's not going to work out." And of course, that's his first year, and the whole narrative was, give him another year, give him another year. I remember that just right off the top of my head, how much of a mistake that was.
I really enjoyed the Cragthorpe years. I was a big fan
They're
of
kind of like the Joker Phillips years. They compare pretty good.
And the Gillespie years.
Yeah.
The
Man,
Gillespie years were the worst. Hands down the worst.
So who's Gillespie then, Josh?
Gillespie.
Who drank the most out of all the presidents?
Taft, was he a drunk?
I think he was a drinker. He got stuck in the bathtub because he's so fat.
I was quit stealing my points. I
Gillespie
was trying to
fan?
look smart. No, not really.
Connor wanted to make one smart
I did,
history
so
point,
bad.
and Sean swiped it out from underneath of him.
Gillespie, the drunk relation, that's a good one there. But probably, if I had to say a Gillespie, like you, it's tough for somebody that's just terrible.
You can always go with for either one of them, you can go with a Herbert Hoover and a Lyndon Johnson, although it's not really fair. Both their presidencies, for Hoover, it was marked by the Great Depression, which is the worst economic meltdown in U.S. history where 1 in 4 people were unemployed.
Well, it was that. No, it's Gillespie because it was about the worst basketball breakdown I've ever seen in my life.
But it's not really fair to Hoover because he kind of inherited that. It's not his fault that the economy tanked. He inherited it because of people buying on credit for the first time and problems with the stock market, problems with agriculture and over-farming to supply food for troops in World War I. It's not on Herbert Hoover's shoulders. Much like Lyndon Johnson, he kind of inherited the Vietnam War, although he escalated it. But that's all those two presidents are known for, are their failures there in those two areas. But if you had to think of presidential failures, those would be up there.
Okay, if one of the past coaches in either UK or U of L history had to be our president today, who you going with?
I think you got to go with. Denny Crum. Because Denny Crum now, he's got a smooth track record. You're not going to find much dirt on Denny Crum, unlike most politicians today, which I like. There's not a whole lot of dirt on Denny Crum. He's a stand-up guy. He's going to tell you what he actually thinks. He has a system that he used throughout his whole coaching tenure. even at the end where it didn't work so much. So he kind of sticks with his guns there. And I think Denny Crum is just presidential, other than when he got older here and started saying some crazy stuff. But before that, he seemed pretty presidential to me.
Well, I would probably go, I think Cal, just because he is his love for politics, but I think I could get behind a Joe B. Hall, Denny Crum presidential ticket.
Combo.
Yeah, they would probably only campaign about fishing, because that's all they ever talked about on the radio show.
As long as I don't have to listen to the radio show again, I could.
You didn't watch the radio show?
No.
I thought it was comical. I thought it was so bad it was funny.
I'm going Howard Schnellenberger because who would want a president that smokes cigars?
Well, Stu smokes cigars.
Yeah, but Howard's kind of known for smoking cigars, and he makes it look cool with his mustache.
Okay.
Schnelly looks like a president.
Okay.
White hair, mustache.
That was a fun topic. Just kind of, now I'm going to be thinking about this for the next 2 days probably. But, Sean, we haven't had you on to talk really scandal, and like I said, there wasn't that much going on. So you had kind of proposed an idea to us. So I'm just going to turn this over and let you kind of bring out what you were wanting to discuss, and then we'll wrap up. So lay it on us.
Well, I think what I was going to discuss kind of ties in with kind of how we view things today in our society and what's going on with the scandal. I am just absolutely astonished and petrified and kind of disgusted the way the local media has promoted Katina Powell throughout this whole scandal. I just feel that she is a person of obviously extremely low moral standards. She has admitted and wrote a book about trying to get young ladies to strip and to prostitute themselves for these recruits coming in for U of L. We know it happened, and I can't believe that the media, Wave 3, WHS 11, WDRB, they've had interviews with her on air. And it's almost as if, I don't even want to say almost, I would actually take this position, that they are painting her as a victim in all of this. No one put a gun to Katina Powell's head and said, you got to find some strippers to strip for these recruits, to have sex acts with them. That wasn't something she was forced to do. She voluntarily did that. And to promote her and interview her and kind of put her up on this pedestal as someone that's been victimized, I just think is appalling that the local media would keep having her on to do these interviews. I think if we flip this whole scenario around, and let's say there was a girls' basketball program that was doing what U of L was found to do, and they were bringing in, let's say, male strippers to strip for female basketball recruits coming in, and maybe even have sex acts with. I don't think that pimp, or whatever you want to call it, that's arranging these parties would be promoted on local media the way that Katina Powell is. He certainly wouldn't be shown as a victim in this process the way Katina Powell is. And even if we want to take it from a legal standpoint, we know that McGee and Powell haven't been charged with anything. If this was flipped in the scenario I just described, I would say that man that brought these male strippers for these sex acts in, they would definitely prosecute him, whether they say there's not enough evidence or not. I think it's just hypocritical, kind of in the society we're living in, where we're saying these things are really bad that have happened, and I agree they are, but to promote her and what she's done with these interviews, I think it's just appalling. But that's me on my soapbox there for a little bit about Katina Powell. Well, what do you think about that, David?
I agree. I think one thing that has U of L fans the most angry about the whole situation and resentful about the whole situation is that from the get-go, the university has admitted wrongdoing. We owned up to it, we did wrong, we've obviously been punished for it in a big way. But unfortunately, the two main figures in the whole thing aren't getting punished at all. I guess you could make an argument that Andre McGee is because he's never going to be able to coach again. But Katina Powell, who is prostituting her, in the book she says, is underage children, even though somehow now they're not, is getting off scot-free. Not only that, she's made money off this. She's being glorified for it. I get a message the other day from a UK friend of mine about items she's selling pertaining to the scandal. People think it's funny, people joke about it, and it's the society we live in. doing these negative things a lot of times get you spotlights, and it's not just in this scenario. And I think that's what makes U of L fans so mad about the whole situation, is that the person that was responsible for all this, the people that were responsible for all this, are going to get nothing done to them. And it's very frustrating as a U of L fan that the program's getting punished, kids that weren't even involved are getting punished, like your Luke Hancocks, like your Tim Hendersons, like your Gorgie Jangs. Fans are getting punished, but somebody who is pimping out her underage children, performing sex acts for money, strip parties, isn't getting punished, is getting glorified. And I think that's something wrong with society, in my opinion.
Okay. I see both your standpoints, and I kind of want to hit back on what Sean was saying. If these gender roles were reversed, I think it would be 10 times probably a bigger story. I think it would be a much bigger story. And I can agree with what Sean's saying. I don't think you would see the pimp or whatever that was associated with this being put out there in that storm. So I can understand that point of it. Here's my thing, Sean. I know I've brought this up to David before. You guys are going to appeal. It's been approved by the Board of Trustees, but you're only appealing the vacation of wins as well as the financials that came from the tournaments that you guys were in. And the consensus is there's a chance that this could end up going to court and being a lawsuit there with the NCAA. You as a fan, do you fear that there's any chance that this could look worse on you all in the long run? Because at some point, if this goes to court, you got to think McGee is going to end up on the stand. A lot of the coaches that are involved with the university they're going to be under oath. Do you think it could get worse with it? Do you think it's worth the chance taking it to the court?
Well, I think from the PR standpoint, it could definitely get worse. As far as getting worse from NCAA penalties, which you didn't mention, but I just want to clarify that. The appeal process is not where we would get like a brand new ruling from the NCAA.
There's no bargaining in there. No. It's not like we can say, well, we'll make Patino set 15 games if you take the. No. They're set. So now, and like, I've heard Louisville fans for a long time. I just want this to be done with, and I can understand fighting it now because you have nothing to lose except that it's going to be in the spotlight more. So, but my thing, the PR thing, does that bother you?
I think for me, the number one thing to do is protect the banner. In my opinion, there's no way that these 3 ineligible players, ineligible with quotes, because really if they were found ineligible when they did these acts, they've been reinstated long before the championship. But anyway, which I think is the problem. I think that's going to be one of the main ideas here that we're going to be arguing, or UVL is going to argue in the appeals process, that how can they be ineligible their whole career?
Right.
But anyway, from a PR standpoint, really, I don't think anyone really cares about that perception of it outside of Kentucky. Outside of Kentucky, no one's really talking about it other than when it hits the ESPN little tracker there at the bottom of your screen.
But right? If it does go to court, you have to think you're going to have Patino who's going to end up on a witness stand. What you're saying now is it's not really a nationwide thing. I'm sorry, when you go to put Rick Pitino, this lady, Katina Powell, Andre McKee on a witness stand, it's going to be nationwide at that point.
I don't think it will be nationwide. I think, first of all, if we threaten to take it to civil court, I think that NCAA would settle long before that, kind of like what they did with Penn State. I don't think they want this dragging out. And I tell you what, if this appeals doesn't work, which I'll go on record here and say, unfortunately, I don't think any part of this appeal process is going to work for U of L. I don't think the money's going to be backed off from the NCAA as far as paying that back from the NCAA tournament from 2012 to 15. Or what, is that right? 2012
right, 2012 2015.
And I don't think that they're going to reverse their decision on vacated wins. I don't think any of that's going to happen. I think the only way that we got shot to protect the banner and for U of L to protect about $15 million is to take it to civil court. To finally answer your question about PR, we've already been fighting PR for 3 years, 2.5 years over this. I say at this point, if we want to be looked at as the bad guys, embrace it, take the bad PR. We'll be like the Miami Hurricanes, as long as you're protecting the banner, I as a fan can take it for a few more years if we can protect that banner.
Do you think administration, you both know this, do you think administration could look at this and say, we fought this, they're taking the banner, but we're saving 10, they're not going to do the financial part of it. Is that a win for the university as far as administration goes? Or do you think their number one thing should be the banner?
It should be the banner, but I bet they're more concerned with paying $15 million.
See, I don't think so. I think they're more concerned about conserving the Final Four and the banner than necessarily the money. It might be a win for the administration, but it's not a win for the fans. I mean, it's not a win for me, who's at the game, who saw those guys play. And in my opinion, that's what it's all about. And we don't have to get into all that, but I think one of the main things Sean was talking about earlier, and what you all were talking about, a lot of U of L fans and people in general have a misconception that this appeals process is a new hearing. It's not. Basically, all U of L is arguing is that the NCAA went above and beyond what they needed to go, especially how we cooperated the whole time. So that's one point I'd like to make. And the last point I'd like to make, just to piggyback off Sean and the gender roles, a lot of that is society's fault. And a lot of that, I can even point to myself and say that's my fault, because I've said before, I have a son. And I've said before, I don't really think this way anymore, but a couple of years ago I did. Well, I don't really care if my 16 and 17-year-old boy goes out late and stays out late with girls and all this stuff. But if I had a daughter, she'd be home by 9 o'clock every night. She'd be in, and I'm not like that anymore because I have a son now. But I think a lot of that's society's fault. It's almost accepted if it's a boy, but if it's not a girl, but if it's a girl, it's not accepted. And so I think that is why it would be a lot bigger deal. Katina Powell, if it was a man, the other day wears verse like you're talking about, would not be glorified like this situation. So I just wanted to throw that point in.
So Sean, we know David's prediction. Is your prediction that they don't overturn the money or the vacated wins?
Yes, nothing's coming out of appeal.
I don't think so either. I'm with Sean. I think this will go on for years. I think it will go to court over this. I hope not. I could maybe see a scenario where they might vacate some wins and maybe let us keep our title and find some
Syracuse
kind of appeal, kind of a Syracuse type situation. Maybe that's a possibility, but I see it going to court because I think at this point, for a fan, I don't care at this point. Take it to court, fight as much as you're going to fight, because as far as penalties goes, there's nothing worse. You can't get any worse.
No, I think the only thing that would be worse would be some kind of postseason ban or multiple postseason ban or maybe more scholarships. Really, 4 over 4 years isn't really going to impact that much, although Pitino's going to say it does. He's going to say it impacts, but in reality it's not.
Of course.
Because you could, really, if you had you can do it once a year over 4 years.
Right.
It's not, and I just don't understand the unbalance of, we're going to take all your wins for 4 years, but Pitino's only going to get a 5-game suspension. So you're talking about out of both ends of your mouth. I know you already covered this in your previous discussion, but for Pitino, it's like, even you can look through what the NCAA showed in their findings. They do not think Pitino had anything to do with it.
Or even that he should have known. They've even went so far as saying you probably shouldn't have.
The only thing they said was he should have checked up on McGee a little more. But if you're going to say that, and McGee's no longer with us, then what is up with this harsh punishment with the vacation of wins? Because it makes sense for the Pitino 5-game suspension. Okay, we got to do something, quote-unquote, slap on the wrist, 5-game conference suspension. But then you're going to take away a championship, which is unprecedented? I think they're just talking out both sides of their mouth here. So I'm hopeful the appeals will do something to negotiate that kind of hypocrisy, but I don't think it's going to happen. So.
That's one of the points Eric Crawford made today on his, he did a podcast, not a podcast, but a short video. And he said another thing Louisville will really fight with its appeal is that the NCAA did go above and beyond as far as the penalty phase, because we didn't get charged with the most serious infractions. We didn't get charged of lack of institutional control. And I think that's another thing they'll fight, saying, if you're going to vacate 4 years of wins, a Final Four and a championship, why didn't you charge us with a lot more serious punishment in the notice of allegations? I think that's another thing they'll bring up in the appeal as well.
But, they could always go and say that the more serious punishment could have been multiple years of postseason ban.
It's the NCAA. They can do whatever they want to do.
Well, give us a postseason ban this year, and we'll keep the championship. I mean, you don't have 100% fact that we'll go to the Final Four of the championship this year. It would hurt, but we can't lose that championship.
So banner at all costs.
Banner at all costs.
I would be the same way as a Louisville fan. Thank God I'm not one, but I would be the same way. But guys, we'll wrap up here. 4th of July tomorrow. Sean, what do you got on the plans? Can we have a smoke off? Charcoal versus the electric? I'm free all day.
I feel bad for my wife because, I don't feel bad for her. I should feel happy for her because I smoked ribs on Wednesday night, and then I smoked ribs again Saturday night when we were camping, when y'all were having your little shindig. So I don't know if I'll be smoking any more ribs or pork. She might be a little burnt out on that, but I think tomorrow we're going over to Mom and Dad's, and they live on a lake, and we're going to try to repeat what you all did on Saturday, although it won't be as much fun without you all there. Just go swim and eat.
Dave, you head to the zoo, right? That sounds
I'm
absolutely terrible.
I enjoy the zoo. I like
It's going to be hot. Who cares about the animals?
Nothing,
Well, my
It's a kid
stepson
thing
likes
for
it.
sure.
nothing like heat and feces smell.
My stepson likes it, and my 3-month-old will definitely understand what animals he's
What's
looking at.
what's
so
the worst
I'm looking
animal
forward
to
to it.
smell? I'm
Pig.
between camel and elephant.
No, have you been into the penguin exhibit?
Oh, I have. They are
bad.
Oh, it's wet bird and feces
They
at
are
the same time.
It's
awful.
Oh, giraffes. The last time I went to the giraffe exhibit in the zoo, it was all
Giraffe?
inside, so the smell was even worse because it was all inside.
Well,
They are cool, though. You get to see them real close up.
David's amazed by the zoo.
I kind of like the zoo.
I could do once every decade zoo run. That'd be
I
good.
feel like David has season passes.
I
you
don't,
ride
but
the
we might go
train?
down there way.
Do you ride the train?
If Carson and Noah want to ride the train, I'm on the train.
Don't they sell beer at the zoo now?
I'm in.
I don't know
Let's
if
go.
it's a beer
Zoo
atmosphere.
No, I think they sell beer at the Louisville Zoo now.
They would. Louisville would sell beer.
The
at
city of Louisville has embraced selling beer and everything. Pegasus Parade, beer. Zoo, beer. Football games, beer. It sucks to be a Lexington guy. I mean,
Glad
There's
you're
a lot of
living.
animosity there.
yeah, we get like a craft festival once a week. Sean, I appreciate it you coming in tonight with us. If there's any way possible, the athletic director, athletic funds could maybe find a couple $1,000 to give me a raise. I would highly
What about the
appreciate it.
heat in the building? You got that yet?
No, that's another topic.
No heat.
No heat. Yeah. What about that heat?
Well, we found a place
I'm not
for you
the-
in your community practice, and that's at Nelson County High School. Where
Is
you
this
get
going to be a
nice-
Thomas
You
Nelson
found
edit
it? Like I
on this
found it.
podcast?
Yeah.
We worked with you in collaboration of Mr. Broadus and finding that nice facility out there in Nelson County.
No, I think I did all of that, but it's all
Found your
right.
nice facility at another school.
Yeah. You got to drive across town, but you got to eat. And surprisingly, I was okay with that. But anyway, thanks to Sean for coming in. David, we'll see you. I kind of like this three-person
I do like the
thing.
three thing. Makes it flow a little
Yeah,
bit
we're
more.
going to have to find, we'll kind of branch out there. Please go to iTunes, subscribe. The Rivalry Rant podcast. Check us out there. We're also available on YouTube. We're really going to start pushing the iTunes route because that seems to get things going for us. And next week, hopefully something happens for us.
Not much going on in the world of sports today.
No.
But it's not hard to come on here and find something to talk about, as you
No.
all can tell.
So this has been the Merica edition of the Rivalry Rant podcast. And until next time, guys, I appreciate it. And appreciate you guys for listening. And we'll see you.